So in this example, we're going to show you how to return an array from a method. So I just created a project with this namespace, and let me take .NET version 5, create the project. The first thing I want to do is that I just need to create a function or a method, and this method will return true if a number is a multiple of 7. So it's going to be a boolean is a multiple of 7. It's going to take an integer. Basically, if a number is a multiple of 7, it's going to say yes. If not, it's going to say no. So return, let me do it the long way and then the short way. If, and let me put the number n over here, if n modulus 7 equal to 0, return true, else return false. Okay. So this is one way to do it. So if I want to test that out over here, what I want to do is, for example, mult of 7 is mult of 7. 5. Obviously, this is going to return a false if I execute, so it's a false over here. But if I say, for example, 14 and try that out, it's going to be true. If I try anything like 49 and I test that out, it's going to be true, and so on. So 48 probably is not going to work. Let's refine this and do it in a smarter way. Somebody will say just basically return this, return, and this is what we need to do. So this is a smarter way of writing it. So return this, which is, it's going to return, again, this is an is equal relationship, and it's a relational one, so it's going to return either true or false. Yes, and that's going to work as well. A smarter way or an easier way in C#, because we have the syntactic form, we use the arrow and just tell it to return this. So this basically means this guy, and we're doing this. So this is the same thing over here. So just 3 versions on how to write a method more effectively. Again, you use the arrow whenever a method has only one statement over here, and just an expression that you want to do, or a statement that you want to print. In most cases, it's an expression that you want to return. Now, why did I do this? Now I want to do something else. I want to create a program, and I want you to focus with me. Just basically create a program, or create a method that returns an array of another, let me put it this way, returns a subarray of another array. Okay, what does this subarray contain? The subarray contains all multiple of 7s. So we're gonna have an array. So let's create an array over here. Integer, let's call it random numbers, is equal to new int, and I'm just going to give it a random size like 100 over here. Then what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that I initialize this array with not random numbers. So let me do this and write random of I is equal to new random dot next, and I'm going to initialize it with numbers between, or I'm going to put numbers between 1 and, let's say, 200. So it's going to be up to 199. Now, if this syntax is not, you're not comfortable with this sentence, you shouldn't be, because this means create a random object every single iteration, which is totally not efficient. but I'm not doing for efficiency, I'm not doing for just the example. I can revise it later. Now what I want to do is I want to create a function, okay, that over here returns, over here create a function or invoke a function that creates an array, or that returns an array of, that is a sub array of this. So let me try to create a function over here. So I want to create a function that returns an array, so I have to do this, and I'm gonna call it all mult of 7. So, and this takes an integer array. Let me just call it my array, like this, and this should return an array of type int, and let me just say return temp of type integer, I'm sorry. So it's going to return an array. The reason I'm having this because it's not initialized. Now why is it not initialized? Because we don't know how many numbers. For the sake of simplicity, let me do a new int of 100. So it's going to return an array of 100, but we're not finished yet because we still need to make sure that we're returning only the sub numbers. So I need to iterate this through this new array, so I need an iterator, and I'm just going to call it j, and it's going to be equal to 0. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a for loop integer. You know what? We like copy and paste. Let me copy and paste this guy over here. And instead of number, I'm going to say temp. So I'm going to put this guy over here. And now I'm going to ask the question if, and the question is my array, or is multiple of 7 my array of I? So I'm iterating for each one of these guys, equal to true, or you can remove this, it's up to you. So for each element inside my array, so my array of 0, my array of 1, up to my array of 99, if that is a multiple, then I'm gonna say that temp of j plus plus equal to my array of I. So it's gonna fill it up. So that's the awesome thing about it. And let me just format this code really quick. Control D and D, K and D. If you press Control K and D, it's gonna reformat it for you. Just look at the code, guys. So what I did, created an array called temporary array. We're going to return this array after we fill it out. We're going to fill it out with only multiples of 7s. So we're invoking this method that we did, which is called multiple of 7. And we're testing out if any of these elements is a multiple of 7. We're assigning that array index starting from temp of 0, so that multiple of 7. And then, if you remember, this is a post increment, and a post increment does it after the fact. And then we go on. Now we're going to have a small issue, and we're going to see what the issue is. First of all, let me just create a result over here. See, a result. I'm just going to create a new array called result, and this array is going to hold all multiple of 7. So let me show you what I'm trying to do. I'm going to create all multiple of 7. First of all, this method has to be static since I'm not creating an object. So all multiple of 7, and I'm going to get my array, which is called random numbers. So this is the way we're passing this array to the method. But this array is going to return another array. This method is going to return another array, sorry. So I'm going to call this array result like this, and I'm going to say this result is equal to this guy. Now I can use a for each loop, or whatever loop that you want, for each integer I in result, and I'm just going to basically cancel that right line I. Let's try it out, see if it works or not. We're going to see we have a bunch of zeros, but before the zeros, I'm just going to scroll up. We're going to see that we have 28, we have 7, we have 0, 77, 28, 175, 182, again another 28 over here. All of these are multiple of zeros. Let me execute again, scroll up, so another set of numbers, and as you can see, all of these numbers are multiples of 7. Now, is this an ideal situation? Oh, definitely not. This is not an ideal situation. And the reason for that, it's not ideal, it's because we're creating an array of size 100 over here, and it's not necessarily that the array is going to be 100. It's almost impossible for it to be filled with 100 elements that are all multiple of 7s. So we're just wasting some space. But this example is not about wasting space or making it more efficient. This example is on how to return an array from a method or a function, whatever you want to call it. Now, can I make this better? Can I just return whatever I want to return? You can do that. You can do that. So what you can do is the following. And it's not also 100% efficient, but let me show you guys. You know what, let me do it the other way. So count, I'm gonna put a counter over here, and I'm gonna say counter is equal to 0. This is what students usually do. Put a counter and then initialize it to 0, and then what they do, if they find this guy, so if they find a multiple of 7, they say count plus plus. So they're just counting over here. They're just counting. So they take this out and they're just counting. That's what they're doing. So this code over here, just this code by itself, is basically, and I'm gonna go to my array.length. This array, this code just counts the number of times you're finding a multiple of 7. Then over here, what they do is that integer, they create the temp integer. Temp array is equal to new int of count. So this is going to be exactly how many times you found it. So if you found it 10 times, 20 times, it's going to be like that. And then we copy and paste over here. Okay, so you're copying and pasting, but instead of having this, you're going to say temp of temp of j plus plus, like we did, is going to be equal to array, my array of I. So it's going to be 2 sections. The first section is basically counting how many times we're going to have this number by iterating through the array. Is it totally efficient? No, it's not, because it uses CPU time just going through the array. But this is one solution, guys. The second one, we know how many elements. We're going to create an array that is exactly the size that we want, and we're going to iterate through that, and then we're going to create or return it. Let's see if this executes. Indeed it does, and I don't have any zeros because the size of the array is this much. There is a third way as well. There's multiple ways of doing it, but I'm going to stop over here. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments.